Next News. Breaking news.
Right now, the mask is slipping off one of the left's favorite power structures. And the real panic is not even about a Democrat candidate. It's about what happens when Democrats get trapped by the very moral test they've spent years using against everybody else. CNN is now asking Democrats whether they're comfortable defending baggage that they would have called disqualifying if the party label were different. At the same time, the Southern Poverty Law Center is suddenly being hauled into the spotlight and forced to answer for who it targets, who it protects, and who profits. So here's the question. When the self-appointed referees get exposed, who still trusts the scoreboard? See, this matters because for years the left built an entire enforcement machine around symbols, associations, labels, and guilt by proximity. They told the country that words matter, affiliations matter, maps matter, donor networks matter, and if you're even adjacent to the wrong people, your credibility was gone, canceled. Conservatives lived under that weaponized standard while legacy media and activist groups like the SPLC acted like unelected umpires, deciding who counted as respectable and who got branded extreme. Now that same system is boomeranging back right onto the Democrats. CNN's own questions will tell you everything. Not Republican media, not conservative activists. CNN asking Democrat Senator Chris Coons and Representative Chrissy Houlihan whether they're really comfortable standing by Graham Plantner. That's the tell. Once friendly media starts pressing your side for consistency, the firewall is already cracking. And looming over all of this is the bigger issue. If the SPLC can smear mainstream conservative and Christian groups while failing to apply equal standards elsewhere, then this was never neutral. It was power dressed up as moral authority. And while these institutions keep telling you what to trust, smart Americans are looking for ways to protect themselves before the next big scramble begins. So think about it this way. If you could go back in time and buy oil before the world relied on it, would you? Of course you would. Anyone would. So why are you not buying silver right now? See, the people who recognized oil early didn't just make money. They got ahead of one of the biggest economic shifts in history, and today a similar opportunity is unfolding with silver. You see, silver is more than a precious metal. It's a critical resource used in solar panels, electric vehicles, defense systems, AI infrastructure, and the manufacturing economy. See, that means demand is tied to the future. To learn more, visit nextnewsgold.com. From Noble Gold Investments, and for a limited time, you could receive a 1/10 ounce gold coin with a qualifying purchase. Let's get back to the story, because what we're seeing here is not just a campaign problem for Democrats, it's an exposure event for the entire system. And this is the twist they really do not want to discuss. The Plantner story only has power because Democrats trained the country to look at politics this way in the first place. They insisted symbols reveal character. They insisted associations prove intent. They insisted Americans should judge public figures by these markers. Fine. Then apply the rule evenly. But as the hearing unfolded, another problem exploded into view. The same SPLC that spent decades branding conservatives and Christians as suspect is now being accused of enriching itself while attacking the very groups actually standing for faith, family, and civil rights. That's where this goes from awkward to devastating. Dr. Elveda King, tearing into the Southern Poverty Law Center, she's been a guest on this program, tearing into the SPLC during a hearing accusing the organization of fueling racial division in the United States while claiming to fight it. The niece of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., pointing to allegations referenced in a federal superseding indictment that she says raise serious questions about the group's conduct.
My family legacy reflects the very truth that America is strongest when we recognize our common humanity. My grandmother's family came from the west coast of Africa. My grandfather's family came from Ireland. My mother's family included Cherokee roots. I have spent my entire life living the reality that America is not a collection of competing tribes. America is one people under God. That is why I am troubled by the conduct and messaging of organizations that claim to fight hatred while profiteering from division. Recent allegations reportedly contained in a federal superseding indictment raise serious questions about the Southern Poverty Law Center's activities. Individuals associated with organizations the SPLC itself labeled as extremist or hate groups allegedly received substantial payments over many years. The indictment shares of payments totaling hundreds of thousands and in some cases more than $1 million to sources connected to white supremacist, neo-Nazi, and Ku Klux Klan organizations.
Alveda King accusing SPLC of cashing in on the division while paying people tied to real extremists. Now, Representative Lance Gooden presses the group on why conservatives land on the hate map and while Antifa and Jane's Revenge somehow skate by. He unloads on the SPLC interim CEO Brian Fair after pressing him on why groups like Turning Point and Family Research Council appear on the SPLC's hate map while Antifa and Jane's Revenge do not.
In the Biden-Harris administration, the SPLC included many mainstream conservative groups in their hate map, including Alliance Defending Freedom, Charlie Kirk's Turning Point USA, and Family Research Council. To your knowledge, did the SPLC include Antifa, which is an actual domestic terrorist organization in its hate group?
Congressman Gooden, just for the record, the SPLC does not have a domestic terrorist list. I'm not sure what Dr. King was referring to, what list she's referring to. As I understand, she's on none of our list. We have a list that identifies groups based on the statements that they and their leaders make.
Is Antifa on your hate map?
Again, as I said earlier, Congressman Gooden, it's my understanding that the FBI has said.
So they're not.
Antifa,
let me ask you this. Has SPLC labeled the radical left group Jane's Revenge as a hate group? This group has publicly taken responsibility for vandalizing and destroying pregnancy resource centers and Catholic churches since May 2022. Have you all designated that on your hate map?
Congressman Gooden, if you've looked at our hate map, you know the criteria we set for designating groups. One designation is when a group expresses, vilifies, demonizes individuals based on immutable characteristics. The second is a group that expresses anti-government conspiracy theories.
So destroying pregnancy resource centers and Catholic churches would not qualify as hate under your definition. You guys are okay with that. But God forbid Turning Point holds a rally. That's considered hate, but destroying a Catholic church or a pregnancy resource is not. Just to be clear, help me understand.
No, Congressman Gooden, the SPLC establishes its own criteria, and any other group can create its own list. Under our criteria, we've designated those groups based on what they've said.
Under your criteria, Turning Point USA, Family Research Council, and other conservative Christian groups are considered hate groups. But Antifa and Jane's Revenge, that burns down Catholic churches and pregnancy resource centers, those are not hate groups. It sounds like you're really proud of that process. I'll move on because I frankly think it's disgusting. And you know what? I'd actually ask for you to add me to your hate map. I'd be honored to be on it. It sounds like it'd be in great company.
Oh, and you are, sir? Because Next News Network is on that very same map. Oh, we've been targeted by the SPLC for years and years and years. I'm even Patriot number 9 on their Meet the Patriots expose. Oh yeah, they did a whole write-up on me. Yes. Those were the days. But now these are the days. So he didn't just call the Standard biased, he called it disgusting. Next, Harriet Hageman follows the money and lays out how an $829 million operation used donor cash to target the right while funding actual white supremacists.
Advancing hatred has become quite profitable for the SPLC, as in 2024, the organization had over $829 million in assets, an endowment of approximately $738 million and $129 million in revenue. The bulk of this money comes from the contributions of the SPLC's donors, contributions that the donors thought were made to, quote, confront hate, stand up to injustice, and defend our civil and human rights, end quote. But that isn't the case at all. Instead of confronting hate, standing up for justice, or defending civil and human rights, the SPLC has been funding the exact opposite, with the added bonus of then using their donations to target right-leaning organizations such as the Family Research Council and Turning Point USA, simply because they believe in traditional marriage and the sanctity of the family unit while also opposing abortion. Stated another way, SPLC has been using its funds to attack those very organizations that actually do confront hate, stand for justice, and defend civil and human rights. And the SPLC funded actual Nazis and white supremacists in order to do so.
So after she zeroes in on the money trail, the hearing takes a sharper turn. Congressman Brandon Gill forces the SPLC chief to answer a simple question about a Democrat Senate candidate with a Nazi tattoo.
Do you have an opinion on this tattoo?
I'm not an expert on tattoos. No, I don't.
Okay, I can give you a little bit of background. This is a tattoo on Maine Democrat Senate candidate Grand Plattner's chest. That's the Nazi SS death head tattoo. Do you have any opinions on that?
If it's what you say, if it's a Nazi symbol, we oppose Nazis.
We oppose, I agree, we do oppose Nazis. Do you think if somebody got a Nazi tattoo on their chest, that's indicative that they might be a Nazi?
You'd have to ask Mr. Plattner why he has that symbol. I've already said that if it is a symbol of Nazism, we oppose Nazis.
You don't think that that's indicative that perhaps he holds Nazi sentiments?
It may well be.
It may well be. I think, do people who aren't Nazis normally get Nazi tattoos on their chest?
Again, I assume they don't.
You assume they don't? I would assume so too. I don't know anybody who's not a Nazi. I don't know anybody who has a Nazi tattoo on their chest but is not a Nazi. Do you?
No.
Do you think that somebody who has a Nazi tattoo on their chest should serve in the United States Senate?
I wouldn't vote for that person.
I certainly wouldn't either. Do you think that this should disqualify him politically from serving in the Senate?
Again, I'm not sure where the line of questions is going.
The
SPLC, if you're asking me, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
If you're asking me if the SPLC opposes Nazis and Nazi symbols, the answer is yes.
Yep. The SPLC has referred to this same tattoo as a racist skinhead symbol and tattoo. You can see the resemblance there. You wouldn't want somebody with a tattoo like that in the Senate?
No.
No, I wouldn't either.
So the SPLC law boss says he wouldn't vote for a man with Nazi ink on his check. Next, CNN puts the same test to Democrat Senator Chris Coons, and watch how fast the moral clarity disappears.
He said there's nothing out there that's actually concerning. My question to you is his definition of concerning the same as yours? He had a tattoo, which is a Nazi tattoo. A Totenkopf there has definite Nazi symbolism. The New York Times and the Wall Street Journal reported there was physically violent toward an ex-girlfriend. There were all the posts he made. He says that's not concerning. Is that the same view of concerning that you have?
Well, John, that's a judgment the voters of Maine will ultimately make. But of course, I have concerns about his tattoo and the story, about whether he knew what it meant or not and when, and concerns about the allegations. Democrats have held our candidates and our colleagues to high standards, particularly when it comes to any allegations of sexual assault. But I also respect the fact that the voters of Maine, like most states, did not like national party leaders coming in and anointing one candidate over another.
So Coons tries to dodge by saying it's up to Maine voters, even while admitting he had concerns. Meanwhile, Congressman Congresswoman Chrissy Houlihan gets the same question on CNN, still says she hopes the candidate wins.
You are a military veteran. You are the daughter and granddaughter of Holocaust survivors. What do you make of his claims, and do you support him as a candidate?
So the good news is that I'm not a resident of Maine, and I don't make that choice for the people of Maine. I am hopeful that his candidacy is successful. My understanding is that he has been resoundingly chosen by the people of Maine for the nominee position. We could have a very long conversation about personal foibles, and we are in a world where we are unfortunately constantly confronted with them. I would love to make people understand that it's important to lead by example, and I do try to do that with my own life every single day. And so I will start by leading by my life, and then in the way that I would like to see people be elected with the values that I have.
Yeah, sure. So the usual Democrat sidestep. Principles for Republicans, excuses for their own side, then President Trump cuts through the spin in his own unmistakable way.
Because he's just an outright pig. He's like a pig. I watched him a couple of times. He's like a pig. That's what he reminds me of. You know, I come up with good names for people. I don't want to stick him with that one, although I think pigs would be very upset about it.
Pigs would be very upset about it. So at the hearing, Dr. Elvira King delivered the moral gut punch. She said America is not a collection of competing tribes, but one people under God. And she accused groups claiming to fight hate of profiteering from division. Then Representative Lance Gooden hammered the SPLC over why Turning Point USA and the Family Research Council land on its hate map, while Antifa and Jane's Revenge somehow escaped the label. Representative Harriet Hageman took it further, citing massive SPLC assets and alleging donor money was used to attack mainstream conservative organizations instead of confronting real hate. See, that's the core revelation. The fight is no longer just over a candidate or a symbol. It's over whether these institutions ever deserve the power to define extremism in the first place. And right now, that power looks weaker than ever. So President Trump, he spent years calling out the corruption, the double standards, and the arrogance of institutions that thought they could smear half of the country and never answer for it. Now, under the Trump administration, with Republicans controlling Congress, those institutions are finally being dragged into the light. And Americans are getting a clear look at how selective outrage really works. That's why this story matters, not because Democrats found one messy candidate, not because the media discovered standards overnight. It matters because the old gatekeepers are losing control over who gets labeled dangerous and who gets protected and who gets silenced. Once people stop trusting the referees, the whole rigged game starts to fall apart. So I want to hear from you. Should the SPLC still be treated as a credible authority on hate and extremism? Yes or no? Drop your answer in the comments and share this report everywhere. And if you're sick of the hypocrisy, subscribe to Next News right now for more America First coverage. But better yet, let's cut out the middleman, shall we? And that's exactly what I did when I set up this telephone number just for you. I saw what you guys were saying in the comments. Oh no, I'm not seeing your notifications. You're not showing up in my feeds. Well, just text the words raw feed to 844-840-4963. Problem solved. Message from me direct to you. We don't need to wait for YouTube's or notifications or algorithms. No. One text message a night. You're going to get the news that you deserve and the news you rely on so we can stay connected. All right, and let's celebrate, right? America 250, right around the corner. Hit shop.nextnewsnetwork.com or the merch shelf below this video. Pick out something you like, and let's celebrate together.
The system controls information. Information control is power.
They don't want you to see this.
The truth only survives together. They don't want this shared. Share this now. You know out.